Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today, we're taking a completely different approach to space colonization. We're stepping off Earth and looking toward the stars, but we are absolutely bringing our ledgers and balance sheets with us. In today's explainer, we're going to break down some truly fascinating source material from the Mission to Mars project. We're looking at the raw, unfiltered economics of moving to the red planet. So, why go to Mars? I mean, usually when we ask this, the answers are super noble, right? We hear how a Martian colony is absolutely crucial to save the human race from, say, the oncoming AI juggernaut, which the source talks about. Or we get arguments rooted in social justice. Providing a safe haven so the downtrodden can escape poverty and oppression and actually have a chance to build a better life. But what if you just don't care about any of that? The source material we're unpacking today actually acknowledges that for some people, those altruistic reasons are going to fall completely flat. Okay, let's dive into this. If you aren't moved by rogue AI or helping the oppressed, how about the prospect of unimaginable financial gain? Today, we're taking an impartial look at the economic arguments made specifically for what the speaker bluntly calls the avaricious capitalist. We're exploring this really interesting theory that the main driver for some early colonists won't be science at all. It will be survival. It's literally going to be the chance to generate massive, multi-generational wealth. To figure out exactly how this wealth generation works, we're going to follow a clear roadmap. We'll start with the pivot to capitalism, look at a red planet tax haven, discuss ground floor Martian franchises, then government contracts and smelting, wealth for skilled labor, and finally, the concept of the new old money. All right, kicking things off with part one, the pivot to capitalism, and how this appeals directly to financial ambition. So, the speaker points out that survivalist or humanitarian arguments might not hit home for everyone, especially the folks they describe as the spoiled child of the privileged West. But the sheer economic opportunity of a mission to Mars, that is engineered to grab the attention of the financially ambitious. The source explicitly argues that early colonists on Mars will have the opportunity to become very, very wealthy and pass that wealth down. We're not talking about making a quick buck here. We're talking about founding permanent, multi-generational wealth on an entirely new planet. So, how's that going to happen? Well, let's look at part two, a red planet tax haven and the overarching Confederation's economic policy. Now, what's really fascinating about this is the fiscal landscape the speaker maps out for Mars. They propose that the main governing body, the Confederation, won't have any income tax or death tax at all. Zero. Now, individual republics inside the Confederation can set their own rules. So communist and socialist republics on Mars will naturally have income tax systems. But the source predicts most democratically oriented republics will have little to no income taxation. The theory here is that, historically speaking, societies do better and people get rich way quicker when taxes are low and you actually keep the fruits of your labor. That low tax baseline, that's the very first pillar of Martian wealth. Moving right along to part three, ground floor Martian franchises, or the retail frontier. We should probably define what the speaker means here, right? Getting in on the ground floor is basically the holy grail in capitalism. It means joining or starting a business super early, which lets it grow incredibly fast and enriches everyone who stuck around. The source argues that because Martian society is going to be completely brand new, basically every single early business is a massive ground floor opportunity. It's the ultimate virgin territory for huge growth. To really paint a picture of this, the source uses a great mini-narrative. Imagine opening a Subway sandwich franchise on Mars. Yep, a Subway. Step one is just opening that single, simple shop. Why? Because hard-working colonists are going to be exhausted, and they'll desperately want a cheap, quality sandwich so they can eat and get right back to work. I mean, even 140 million miles from Earth, folks just want a quick lunch. Step two is weathering the initial storm and fixing early supply chain headaches. If you can manage that, you hit step three. Over the next few decades, as Mars fills up with dozens or even hundreds of settlements, that one little franchise expands massively. The speaker argues that unless you're just terrible at business or you sell way too early, an owner in this exact position is practically guaranteed an absolute fortune. Next up is part four, government contracts and smelting. This is the industrial boom at the Earth Embassy. Now, for what the source affectionately calls the conspiracy theory types, the folks who think capitalism is just a rigged game built on government contracts, well, don't worry, Mars has you covered too. Picture starting a tiny smelting operation near the Earth Embassy. As more people, tech, and resources flood the planet, the demand for steel, aluminum, and other metals is going to be completely insatiable for decades. So, that tiny smelter, it inevitably becomes a massive operation. With just a little bit of business savvy, the owner locks in insanely lucrative Confederation-backed contracts. They're literally building the physical skeleton of the colony and making a killing doing it.
All right, part 5, wealth for skilled labor, the equation for the working class.
So, the crucial point here is that you don't actually need to be a grand entrepreneur or a huge government contractor to get rich on Mars. Let's say you're a regular employee or sole proprietor with high demand skills, like you're an electrician or an engineer. First off, your baseline income is going to be high. Add in zero Confederation income tax, and you're already doing great. But the real game changer, according to the source, it's the total lack of conspicuous consumption. Think about it. For a long time, there just won't be malls or huge stores of consumer goods on Mars. There's absolutely no keeping up with the Joneses. As long as you don't foolishly gamble it all away, this crazy combination of a high untaxed income and literally zero consumer distractions means incredibly rapid wealth accumulation for the working class. Which leads us perfectly into part 6, the new old money and founding Martian dynasties. When you put all of this together, the speaker's prediction is pretty clear. They say, once the program gets going, however, I am sure that there will be many, many people going to Mars for the financial opportunities they envision for the red planet. The source draws a direct line to the United States, pointing out that a ton of America's old money families started out with similar ground floor opportunities. Human nature doesn't change, right? The idea is that those who jump on these 4 Martian economic avenues today will literally become the founders of the wealthy old money dynasties of tomorrow.
And that leaves us with a really profound question to wrap things up. We love to tell ourselves these grand stories about exploration, that it's all about scientific curiosity or altruism or saving the species. But when we look at the raw, unfiltered economic incentives mapped out in today's explainer, we really have to ask, will greed actually be the true catalyst for making humanity multiplanetary? Is the desire for unprecedented, untaxed ground floor wealth the actual engine that's going to push us to successfully colonize the stars? It's definitely something to ponder. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and as always, keep learning.